what battle did your generation fight? Was it the fight to get camp songs sung on Sunday morning? Do you remember that fight? The older generation says, no, it has to be in the hymn book or we're not singing on Sunday morning. God would not approve. It has to have more than just a melody line. It has to have 4 parts. Or it can't be singing, it's not part of worship. And you fought that. And you wanted to sing Kumbaya or something on Sunday morning because it meant a lot to you at camp. And what did your generation fight? What did they fight back against you? Because if that generation ever becomes in control, it's going to fall apart. It's absolutely going to fall apart. Yeah. And at one time, you were that generation that when you got into control, it was going to fall apart. Has it fallen apart? No, but are we still fighting the same things? We're not going to change. That young generation, they may want this. We're not going to change when we do things. We're not going to change how we do things. We're not going to change how we sing. We're not. Are we missing a generation that just decided not to fight? How does the church learn to love every generation? Isn't that what he's saying? In this context, he says, those who hate their brother are living in darkness. Let me talk about generations. Let me talk about those who think that they're not going to have any wisdom, any knowledge of Jesus until they're old. Let me talk to those people who think that this younger generation is in the grasp of the evil one and they can't win. And John said, let's change some lyrics to a song. I write to you, children, because you have known from the beginning. Fathers, you have known from the beginning. I write to you, young men, because you are strong. You have overcome the evil one. Let's learn to love each other. Let's love and live in the light. Let's cross those generational lines that say, you know, you guys just really don't have it together. My generation, we've got it together. Now, let me take you back a little bit. In this time period, do you know what the average lifespan was of a male? It's in the 40s. You know what that means? That means, Luke, that means you're middle age. It does. In this time period, you would have been middle-aged. We think of middle age now, what do we think of? Yeah, you're talking about, going through midlife crisis. He's 45, he's 50, right? You would have been an old man at 45 or 50. Which takes a bunch of us off the map, doesn't it? Like we are those strange ones that live too long. Kind of like John the Apostle, the old John the Elder, we're going to see in 2 John. Okay? He was an anomaly. He lived to be old. And he said, I know I'm going to die, but you guys think I'm not going to die? I know I'm going to die. Anyway, we'll get to that later. What's that make Jesus at 30? Yeah, we like to think of him as that young, rebellious man at 30 years old. Not in his generation. He'd already passed midlife. Yeah. When we step out of our context and step back into their worldview and what life was like for them, it changes. We go, wow! Who would have thought that being midlife at 22? Well, when you marry and have children at 14, 20s, you are in your midlife. And you are starting to look for spouses for your children. Yeah, blows our minds, doesn't it? Okay. Generations. Can you love the generation that went ahead of you? Or do you still have some bitterness in your heart about how they treated you and how they looked down on you? Can you love the generation that's behind you? Or are you saying things, the variations of the same thing that you heard about your generation from the other generation? They don't know what they're doing. Everything's going to fall apart when they're... We can all love the young ones, can't we? The ones that come sit up here. It's easy to love them because they haven't stood up and said, "You don't know what you're talking about."
Not yet.
Guess what? They will. Stand up and say, "You don't know what you're talking about." And then they may want to talk to Grandma and Grandpa instead of you. And you go, wait. They're the ones that don't know what they're talking about. Generations. This is about living in the light. This is about learning to love. This is about not holding this idea that I have special knowledge and this next generation or that generation missed it. You know? Have you ever looked at the people who are cult leaders? They're usually not down here. They're usually in the middle saying, I've got some special knowledge that they don't have. They don't have. John says, you look at Jesus, you see God. There is no darkness there. There's nothing hidden. God is light. And if you walk in the light, like He's in the light, you're going to learn to love. Can we love the other generations? John gives them a little song. It's a really good song. But it's to change their whole view. The whole view of the generation that says, oh, the evil one has them and they can't overcome that. They are in the grasp of the evil one. He said, no, you're strong. You have overcome the evil one. And the young ones are looking at them saying, you don't know God. There's something you missed. And he said, no, you've known God from the beginning. You guys can learn to love each other instead of butting heads. And will the world change? Yeah. Things will change for the next generation. Will the church change? Only if it really has to. Only if you drag it by its coattails. Yeah. Well, there's a generation out there that isn't being ministered to. Actually going on 2 generations that aren't being ministered to. And you know who they are. And you may know why they don't come. And you may not have the answers on how to minister to them, and I don't either. But do we need to sing songs to them like, you are in the grasp of the evil one, and you don't know anything about Jesus? And you're going to hell in a handbasket? No. We need to learn to love them. We do. And that's how they're going to know we are disciples of Jesus, because we love. And it may be painful for us sometimes. It may not be the way that we want it to be, and it may not sing the songs we want to sing. And it may look different, and it may be at a different time, and it may, who knows? But the important thing is Jesus. Not how your generation thinks about Jesus. The important thing is Jesus. That's the message we take. And it's so tempting not to teach church growth principles and stuff like that. The important thing to know about this verse is John is dealing with something that's difficult in Asia Minor. Whoever has infiltrated, whoever has been teaching them things is setting one generation against another, and he said that's enough of that. That's enough. If you hate your brother, no matter what age group they are, you're walking in darkness. Okay? We come together, various ages. We're kind of tipped towards the older ages here. I don't know if you noticed that. Right? And we wonder why the younger ages aren't coming. Because we like it. Why shouldn't they like it this way? But we come together, and there are some people from every generation here, and we acknowledge that everyone who has Jesus as Lord knows God. And it's not some special insight that I have, you have, they have. We all have insight into our own sinful nature, and that Jesus is revealing God. And that this sacrifice is what makes the commonness between our generations. And at times we try to keep this from younger generations because they just don't understand. I don't know if you remember that in churches. You had to be 13, had to be baptized, had to be in order to take one. What do they understand? Well, what do you understand? Jesus is God and He died for you. He loves you that much, and this is what this commemorates. And that's why we do it on Sundays. Because it levels the playing field. Everyone stands at the foot of the cross. Not old, young, but loved and forgiven and able to know God.